Okay, good morning. It is Thursday, March 3rd, 2022. Your Richland County Board of Commissioners now in session. I'm Commissioner Tony Vero, joined by Commissioner Banks, Commissioner Mears, our clerk Stacy Crawl, County Administrator Andrew Keller. Two wonderful gentlemen, our maintenance department, short timer Chuck Minnick and Josh Hicks. And are the Everly brothers on?
Al and Carl on.
We are joined by Al and Carl in the media. At this time, I'll ask that someone propose a motion to go into executive session, or someone make a motion to go into executive session
I'll make that motion.
to discuss employment in the maintenance department.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Okay, we are back into regular session. At this time, I'll ask for a motion that our maintenance department move forward and post for the position of maintenance repair worker.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on with our routine items. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to certify the record of proceedings for March 1, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Motion to approve requisitions.
Moved. Second.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears, Commissioner Banks.
You're up, D. Say yes. But you guess you don't have to.
I don't have to. No,
Right.
I sincerely want to.
Okay, next up, we have a sub-grant agreement with the Area Agency on Aging for CARES CDBG funding. This is to utilize 12 tablets and computers to assist up to 180 elderly Richland County residents with learning opportunities related to technology and the Diamond Learn Campus Meal Program. Yeah, we have that motion.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Next up, we have a motion to certify the monthly delinquent sewer bills.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
All right, we're going to skip the wastewater MOU. I asked Kelly to come up in case there's any questions and kind of go over the highlights of that. So she's going to come up a little bit before department head meeting and address that. So at this time, I'll ask that we approve a WIOA board membership change for Adina. And the new appointment would be Randa Payne. So may we have that motion?
So moved. Well, then second, I guess we were in stereo there, weren't we?
You
Oh.
are. Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is with somewhat of a sadness because she has been a fixture at Day Spring. But Ms. Cunning has formally put forth her notice to retire. That's Dee Dee, which we know her as. And so it is with sadness that I ask for a motion to accept the retirement of Ms. Cunning, effective, I believe, March 31 of 2022. I'm going to say I believe because she actually, in the email from Michelle Swank, she said she turned in her 30-day notice to resign on March 1st, but she didn't actually list the effective date, but we'll go with March 31 of 2022.
Second. With gratitude.
And it is March 31st. I'm sorry, for sure.
Rivera,
Yes.
Yes.
Banks.
Yes.
Okay, well, since Ms. Cunning will be retiring, the first thing we're gonna need to do is replace her. So Michelle's asking for permission to post for administrative assistant and then also to post for a custodian / driver.
Second.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
They just
I believe you skipped the transfers.
I thought we did do transfers. Pretty sure we did, didn't we? I even crossed it out. It's a motion to do. Okay, well, just in case.
I did record of proceedings and then position that we went into.
Motion to approve weekly transfers and appropriations. I apologize. Thank you.
So moved. I thought we did too. Second.
We did it.
We did now.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
All right. We have an add-on as well. Everyone in the world is hiring or in need of people, private sector, public sector. Papa John's delivery behind us. Charlene Newman has asked for permission to post for a total of 6 jobs, 4 of which would be eligibility referral specialists and 2 would be unit support workers. So someone make that motion.
Second now. It's all within.
It's all within budget. If you recall, we had a bunch of people set to hire. We were ready to hire and only one ended up sticking between the time of hire and actual start dates.
Rivera,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Okay, that's it for routine items as of now. Everly Brothers have any questions?
Yeah, that sub-grant that you did, that was the thing that you discussed way back. Is this just now authorizing it, or is this a renewal of the sub-grant, or what is it?
This is through CDBG. It's just, this is the formalizing of that, Al. So this isn't anything new. You are correct.
Okay, so this is finally getting this thing underway.
Correct.
Okay, that's all that I had.
The maintenance repair worker, new position, current position, somebody's filling. I mean, is this just backfilling for when Chuck does retire?
Yeah. Go ahead, Daryl, you're leading.
Yeah, we've promoted from within. Josh Hicks will be the new director, new supervisor, and it's to replace him.
Well, we haven't formally approved Josh yet, Carl, but that's the intent. You've been around, you've been seeing Josh follow Chuck everywhere. So the intent, presuming it still goes well, would be Josh to replace Chuck. And then we'll need a body there once Chuck leaves.
And what is Chuck's official last day?
May the 11th.
Until you guys change your mind again, or?
Nope.
I don't think we're gonna change mine. I'm too scared to go talk to his wife again.
Right. And we didn't necessarily change our mind. Chuck changed his mind.
Well, his arm was severely twisted, but what does the maintenance repair worker position pay?
$19.75 with the CDL, $18.25 without.
All right, thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions or business at this time, we will recess until 10 o'clock. Okay, it is 10 a.m. Your Richland County Board of Commissioners are now in session. You're joined by two people from the coroner's office, Mr. Bob Ball and his significantly better looking daughter, Randy Ritchie.
Thank you.
And are the Everly brothers still on?
Al and Carl are still on.
Al and Carl from the media are still on. And
All right.
yeah, we give them famous duo names. So today they're the Everly brothers.
Okay. Okay.
But,
Okay.
we've asked the coroner's office to come up and go over some statistics. I know the source has done some articles on this. We've seen some concerning statistics in terms of overdoses and suicides, in terms of how it relates to the pandemic. So we thought it'd be a good time to have them come up and kind of update us and inform the public what they are seeing. So we will turn it over to the both of you and maybe begin.
Alrighty. So obviously there has been a significant increase in Richland County with suicides from the year of 2020. In 2020, we had a total of 16 suicides. In 2021, we had 23. And we are continuing this trend with only having 8 so far this year. So we're seeing possibly more for the end of the year. And then I also broke it down by male and female. So in 2020, we had 16 suicides, 10 were male, 6 were female. And then everyone, whenever they come to us for statistics, they always want to know what's the certain age. We've noticed that there is no certain age, where the youngest being 21 years old, the oldest being 75 years old. There has been a consistent method that is commonly used, which is use of firearms. And there were 14 that were firearm related, 1 that was a full suspension hanging, and then 1 that the decedent jumped off a 2nd-story apartment building. In 2020, we also saw an increase with the total number being 23. There were 19 male and 4 female. The youngest was actually 14 last year. Yeah. And the oldest was 78. There were the typical firearm related and the full suspension hangings, but there were also unusual rulings such as a decedent drove underneath of a tow truck. And there were 2 intentional overdoses, a carbon monoxide poisoning, and then a self-inflicting knife wound. So far this year, we are starting off with 8 as of Monday. We have 6 male and 2 female, the youngest being 23, and then the oldest being 60. There was 1 decedent that overdosed on insulin, 1 that stepped in front of a semi-truck, and then the rest involved firearms. We are teaming up with places such as the Richland County Mental Health Board, 33 Forever, and NAMI. They always ask for our statistics. I know I connect with Sherry Branham on a weekly basis. She wants to know the decedents' ages and such, just to see where they can go from there. And then we also give out pamphlets and such for deceased loved ones. I know a case that we had on Monday, we gave them 33 Forever, NAMI, Richland County Mental Health Board, so they have resources to go to in their time of loss.
The families, what we try to do is we try to give the existing families material to go into maybe counseling, like the one I had on Monday. The son found him. You know, that's a traumatic event for him. So what I did was I gave him pamphlets and material to talk about the process and what he needs to do as far as counseling, getting him toured into counseling. NAMI's been phenomenal, and 33 Forever has been phenomenal to work with us on that.
I know you can't do things proportionally, but just if we did, you said if we show 16 suicides in 2020 and we're 8 year to date through February, let's just say that continues one way or the other. I mean, 8 times 6 is 48, right? So if it were to hold true, just from a number standpoint, I would show that would be a substantial increase.
But you have to think the epidemic. I mean, people were stuck inside. A lot of depression, a lot of anxiety happens with the unknown of everything that's going on. So along with medical diagnosis that we've known of, terminally ill.
Cancer.
Yeah. So that's a lot of what we're seeing right now. People with mental health issues and terminally ill. Drugs. Yeah.
You know, here's what we're not able to tell, even though we suspect it, Tom and I suspect it, is we think that some of these drug overdoses could be led to suicide because they've given up. You know, they can't get off the issue. They've been in rehab. And I mean, just hearing the families and some of the product that goes on before the overdose occurs with the family, but we can't, unless we find a suicide note, it's hard to prove that. We think some of those drug overdoses are actually suicide. They've just given up.
That was kind of the question I had of the suicides. Do you know how many advanced warning or notified people or said, I'm thinking, anything?
A lot of people that we talk to, there's no signs.
I've had a few people I've known that have done it and
Nothing.
yeah, it's just out of the blue.
Yeah, we had a father come in, what was it, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
And his son committed suicide last year. There were no warning signs. The father actually had cameras up in his house. And he said he was watching his son and his son was completely normal, completely happy. And then 5 minutes later, you know, he was gone. So,
And the whole thing was recorded.
and the whole thing was recorded. Yeah. Yeah.
Daryl, I know you looked at her when she talked about the insulin suicide. She was a non-insulin patient. She does not. And what she did, she took vials of insulin and injected it. What happens is that goes straight to her heart. The insulin itself goes straight to the heart, shuts the heart down. That's, we had to research that one. Dr. Dorsey helped us out with that. She said, oh no, that was instant. That was instant. So somebody who doesn't take insulin for diabetes and that effect and prescribed for them. We were shocked on that one. So in 20 years, I've not seen that.
A 200% increase if it holds true.
Mhm.
And the drug deaths are on that rise too, Tony.
Well, let's transition sadly over to overdoses.
Yep. So just like suicides, there's been an increase since 2020 of drug overdoses. We got a jump start back in the fall of 2016, which Daryl and Tony, you heard a little bit about when fentanyl was introduced into the area. And then, like we said, there's been a steady increase of that into 2020 due to the COVID epidemic. In 2020, we ended the year with a grand total of 413 cases. This includes accidental deaths. Those are rulings as in overdoses, a motor vehicle accident or falls, suicides, homicides, and natural cases. We autopsied 64 cases and did toxicology by itself on 47. We had a grand total of 64 drug cases in 2020. 4 were males and 24 were females. The youngest decedent was 21 and the oldest was 63. In March 3rd of 2020, we are on case number 60 and only had 11 autopsies performed and 6 toxicologies performed.
How do you guys determine whether or not you're going to do toxicologies on deaths?
By the evidence, if we start finding drug paraphernalia, then what we can do is we can take that, the drugs itself that we find, what we call paraphernalia, and we have Tambasco over the city help us out with the tox, and then we send it down for the tox read. Here's the problem we're running into doing that is the dealer itself is changing the analog on the fentanyl. 99.9% of our drug cases are fentanyl related. Yes, they're mixture. They call it multiple drug intoxication. That's what doc and the coroner's offices render the decision, called multiple, because they put it in cocaine, they put it in marijuana, they'll stamp Percocets, make it look like Percocets, and they'll lace it with fentanyl. Same way with the Xanax. So we have to, with the breakdown of the analog, sometimes, Tony, we have to send the body down just to get that breakdown because they'll find it in the urine where they may not find it in the blood. So it's just the basis of it. Just
I know it's the circumstances, right? You present an overdose, you're going to find,
Right.
I mean, can't have one without the other, but I was just curious if there's any other circumstances would there ever be a situation where there isn't any evidence? I mean,
yeah, they clean it up. They'll clean it up. They don't want to be, they don't want metrics coming visiting, especially if we find evidence. So what you'll see is a cleanup, especially families. If they find their loved one, they know it's an overdose, they'll go in and clean that mess up.
so what's the time frame on, let's say you take the stamp Percocet pills, as you're saying, that's laced with fentanyl. And let's say, what's the time frame from taking that specific pill to when you might pass away?
Within minutes.
Yeah.
You know, The fentanyl itself, what it does, it attacks the respiratory portion of the brain.
Okay.
And then it shuts that respiratory portion down, which is what puts them in the high. Well, your heart's yelling, breathe, breathe, breathe. It's not breathing. That's where the Narcan comes into play to jumpstart them. And then they go into cardiac arrest after a period of time because, the brain's not functioning. The oxygen, the breathing portion, respiratory portion. That's what happens to that is what happens.
So it's nearly instantaneous almost.
Yeah, pretty much. We call it within minutes, but most of the time, we had a party over here a couple of weeks ago where there were 5 people in that party. It was supposed to be a Narcan party. So there was one person that had Narcan and then the other 4 was to shoot up. Well, one of those people died because they couldn't get they ran out of Narcan, but the other 3 lived. So I got 4 of them at the hospital, 1 dead and the other 3, they weren't sure if they were going to survive or not. So.
And back in 2016, when we first got this rash, we were finding that people were shooting up and the syringes were still loaded. They would just get just a little bit and would overdose. So we were finding the syringes still loaded.
So now they snort it. You don't see too many. I haven't seen heroin and an injection probably in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that?
People can find it. We look for it. That's the first things we look for.
Wouldn't you want someone to find it though, to be revived? I know, I understand. I'm asking a rational question. And when you're at that state, it might be more difficult, but
You mentioned that, at least I thought I heard that you mentioned that the fentanyl during the pandemic was very prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think it's more prevalent?
It's not. This is non-political. I'm going to stay out of the politics. When the border opened up, our cases jumped and it was fentanyl.
And the stimulus checks.
Yeah, and the stimulus.
So just so I'm clear.
Yeah.
When administration we have now allowed so many of these people to come across the border, it's your opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That added to the deaths that we have right here in Richland County.
Correct.
Our chemist, people like Tony.
not me, Tony. Tony,
Right, basketball, I'm sorry.
I'm not a chemist. Yeah.
Their job.
Name it. He's another Italian named Tony. We're really creative.
Made the definition in his research and in his chemist background of where this stuff's coming from. He can answer those questions for you. And I mean, they jump rapidly. You can see that in the numbers. And it's fentanyl. I mean, rarely do you see cocaine as the product that takes a life. It doesn't have enough percentage in it.
Just staying out of the politics, because I know that could, so what I'm saying is if more people are crossing, there's going to be more opportunity to get drugs across the border, right? So that, okay. I mean, it's simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. All right.
And if they think it's staying there, it's going throughout the United States.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think Richland County is just one place that's happening. I think if you look and really listen, it's happening all over. I can't imagine the larger cities, what they're dealing with. Counties, yeah.
Alrighty, moving on to 2021. We ended the year with a grand total of 453 cases. This includes, again, accidental homicides, suicides. I put homicides in there twice, my fault. And natural cases. We autopsied 104 cases last year. As of March 3rd, 2021, we were on case number 81 and autopsy number 15. We had a total of 72 overdoses. There were 19 females and 53 males. The youngest was 21 and the oldest was 70. In 2022, we're expecting to go along the same rate. We have 2 confirmed drug overdoses this year. We're waiting many autopsy reports and they take an average of 10 to 12 weeks. That's why we only have 2 confirmed right now. As of yesterday, we are on case 137 and we are so far on autopsy number 31.
Okay, Al, Carl, I would imagine you have questions.
Well, I'm going to ask some questions, ask her to go back over some of the numbers because she speaks really fast and I type really slow. So I might ask some questions there. But this is a question I've asked since fentanyl, and I've asked Tony Tambasco this question over the years. What sense does it make for a drug manufacturer and seller to produce a product that kills its customers? Does that make any sense?
Good question.
I'm not going to answer that because I've asked the same question.
I
But
mean,
they're still dying. They're still dying.
Yeah, I mean, where does the bulk of fentanyl still come out of China? I mean, it's coming through the southern border, but is it still primarily being manufactured in China?
That's been the tracking. Yes.
So it goes from China to Mexico
The cartels. Yeah.
and then up through the border.
Now, I don't have this. I don't have the science or the math in front of me. My understanding is it does not take a very large amount of fentanyl to kill someone.
Take a
Can you
pencil.
give us some idea of the amount that become fatal?
Well, again, that's speculation when we say that, but what we understand, it's just basically a pinhead, one of the stick pins. It's the head of the stick pin. That's the amount of fentanyl that's put in for the
Is
death.
there any amount of fentanyl you could put in that won't kill you? I mean, it's just
I don't know, Tony. I don't know.
once fentanyl's in it,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't get it either. Why are they?
Now,
It's amazing, Carl, when you talk to families and you find out that this group over here has used fentanyl. They didn't die, but you had the other group over here use fentanyl and they died. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense how they package it, what they put in it. But normally what we find is 2 and 3 different analogs of fentanyl in our toxicology. So they may be loading it with 2 and 3 different analogs. So, there's norfentanyl, there's carfentanyl, there's ACL fentanyl, there's fluorofentanyl. I mean, those are just the ones that we see, and then when we get it in and they look at it, we have to send it out because the analog has changed. So, yeah,
Didn't Tony say he's kind of discovered new analog? I mean, he's
Yeah.
so good at this. I mean,
we're very, very, very fortunate to have Tony Tambasco in our
Mhm.
area.
as good as they come.
now,
The best.
I know that fentanyl was designed as a synthetic opioid. It was pain management. What makes it so much different? And this might be a question for Tony. I think I've asked him in the past. What makes it so much more different than non-synthetic opioids?
You'd have to ask Tony that. That'd be a question you'd have. Only comment I can make on that, Carl, and we've had this in our Corners Association when we've had all these expert doctors come in, these forensic pathologists, the toxicologist people. The only comment they'll make is it's 1,000 to 1,200 times stronger than the synthetic fentanyl. And that's all they'll tell us. Now, how do they know that? I can't tell you that. That's a breakdown they would have to tell you.
And
And if you want that question answered, Montgomery County has a great toxicology lab down there. They have one of the best in the state. They would be able to answer that question for you.
well, that's something I was about to ask you. Are the autopsies still going down to Montgomery County?
Yes. And that's partially because the larger counties like Cuyahoga, Summit, Franklin are so busy of their own, they're not taken out of county. So
just from a budgetary standpoint, what does an autopsy cost the county to have done, and what has that kind of done to the coroner's budget?
it raises it.
Boy, Carl, I think you know the answer to that question. I mean, you're supposed to be a journalist to somewhat ask open-ended questions.
It costs about $1,600 per autopsy, not including transportation, which can cost between $250 and $300, depending on the size of the
So
individual.
just say $2,000 an autopsy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how many do you usually have you been budgeting for in a year, I guess?
It's hard to budget for an autopsy because you don't know how many you're going to have that year. One year you may have 60. Next year you may have 150. The problem we run into is if we have a bus, and I've used this for years because that's the only thing I understand, is you have a bus that drives through here with 100 people on the bus and they all die in that bus. You got 100 autopsies you're going to have to perform.
Stacy, what do we put in a non?
But you really don't know.
Can you pull up? Stacy's going to look at the non-contract services for 2022, but Bob's correct in saying, I mean, that's the budget, but you have an autopsy, So we've had to put more money into autopsy line items. What we put in for this year?
I'm trying to find it.
Hold on a second, Carl.
I think it was.
It's really hard to call it, Carl. It really is. Because you may not have that as many this year and the next year. It may just be,
But the stats aren't going that way.
no, they're
Yeah.
not. No, they're not.
That's why we make Bob walk to work now. He doesn't even get a coroner's vehicle.
That's why I had to get a new knee because they made me walk to work.
This year we budgeted $230,000. Last year we spent $191,000.
Yeah, we'll be up that high this year.
Yep.
I can see it.
Give me those numbers again, Stacy. My computer glitched on me a little bit. Budgeted this year, how much? 230?
230,000,
And last year spent,
191,358.
Randy, the numbers you were reading, can you email me that information? I don't want to have to make you read all these numbers again, but it was kind of hard. I'm a little older and a little slower for me to catch up. Could you email those to me? Is that possible?
Sure can.
I think Stacy's got my email address. Hope you get it from her.
Carl at richlandsource.com.
Carl Hunnell. Have you sent it to Carl? It goes to Carl Ferniak, who would appreciate it as the founder of the place, but certainly wouldn't.
That's right. There are two. Look, you're so important. We don't even consider Carl Ferniak as existing.
You know,
That dude, on the
I'm-
record.
I'm going to argue that vehemently at any point in which you try to make that argument.
Yeah, I'd like the statistics too, please. I'm even older and slower than Carol.
Older people, we charge more for, you know.
Right.
So Daryl gets charged the most then?
Oh,
Wow.
I didn't go down there. I like Daryl, you know.
Wow.
Words.
I do too. That's why it wasn't real nasty.
Al, that's, I'll give you credit for the funniest line of the month so far.
Well,
I want to
what,
hear that from Tony.
what's that? I was asking Daryl how old he is because my man Coach K just turned 75 and he's gonna coach his last game at Cameron Indoor and kick Pat Dropsy's team's butt in 2 nights. So how old are you?
About a year younger than you.
He's younger than Coach K, and one guy's still coaching collegiate basketball, and the other's got to take insults from Al. So we know who's a little better in life.
Yeah.
Bob, Randy, you guys work with NAMI and 33 Forever and the folks at the Mental Health Board. What do they say is there what's the direct connection between the pandemic and the increase? And this is different from drugs coming across an open border. Direct connection or causality between the pandemic and an increase in suicides and overdoses?
I can't answer that.
I can't answer that either. We just provide them the statistics of what's going on in our county, and then they take it from there.
What we try to do, Al, just so that you know, we try to refer and especially to 33 Forever or NAMI to get them help, get the families help. Usually once the deceased is gone, you know, I mean, basically we're just trying to work with the families, make sure, because we've had processes where we've had multiple suicides in the family. One commits suicide and then it's down the road, the depression sets in and then we get the second one. So we try to avoid that. But what the cause is, you know, I have no clue. I mean, most of the time they'll leave a note. They'll tell us their life history and they're upset with themselves and they're worthless. And then the next thing you know, they're gone. I mean, there's no sign of it, you know? So I really wouldn't even want to speculate on that. I wish I had the answer.
Yeah. The majority of cases, suicides involve firearms. Do you guys know in the percentage of those cases where it's a legally owned and purchased and licensed firearm, and whether it was something that wasn't?
Well, I can tell you that about 85 to 88% are licensed and they're owned by the member. They're owned by that person or a family member. It's owned by the family member. The others, as far as borrowing a weapon, we've had them where they borrowed a weapon from somebody. So somebody else owned that, but I don't think I've seen any that wasn't registered or purchased. And in some of those cases, they purchased the weapon the day before.
Mm-hmm.
We've had that. Never owned a weapon before, but they purchased it the day before.
You actually had a reporter I worked with back in the 80s who had gone on to a different newspaper, and I talked to him on the phone on a Saturday morning, and he told me he had to go to the hardware store. And that afternoon, he killed himself with a gun he purchased at the hardware store after he and I got done talking.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, never saw that coming.
Yeah.
Calling him on Saturday morning.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of that.
Okay, well, those are the questions I had. Randy or Bob, if you could email that to me this morning or when you get done here, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yep, for sure can.
Well, this is the saddest presentation I've heard in my year and 2 months on
Yeah.
It's
commission.
important to get you up. That's when we talked. We wanted to get you up.
It's a very sad time. You know, I've been doing this almost 20 years and
Mhm.
last probably since 2016, it's just progressively.
Yeah.
Especially with the drugs. You know, and I've had that question over and over and over again in my mind is why would you, as a businessman, and I'm doing it, this is a drug dealer, kill your constituents? I don't get that.
Because you want them to come back if they survive.
I have suspicions, but we'll talk about that some. I actually think it's a business decision. I think they do the math, right? If you, I could be off, but I think it's a business decision. We'll talk.
I don't know. I hope that helps. I hope that helps the commissioners understand.
Gives you an idea of where our office is at.
This year, I think it's really gonna blossom.
Mhm.
I don't think it's gonna get any.
Why we increased it.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll slow down.
So I'm going to plead my ignorance here. What is 33 Forever and how did that name come about?
33 was developed by an attorney, by the name of Jeff Heck. I don't know if you know Jeff or not, and his
Yeah, in
wife.
town here. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff's daughter, and Donna Heck's daughter committed suicide several years ago. I mean, within the last 2 or 3 years. And they felt that they wanted to reach out to the community and help people, get them into counseling, whatever they're looking for. So they come alongside the families and the person that's in depression to try to help prevent it, get them into resources. In fact, I think they just started a TV show on WMFD, correct?
That I don't know.
I think there's a program on Monday nights, I think, on WMFD.
I know we've had discussions. I had some discussions with Jeff last week about getting him involved in the opioid settlement distributions and some of the money that's going to be going towards mental health. Because Jeff is just with his background as an attorney and then obviously with 33 Forever.
Done a great job.
His daughter was 33 at the
Yes.
Yes, yeah. You know, and they knew there was a problem, but they didn't know that was to that extent because she didn't reveal that.
Mhm.
And you know, the professional people, I mean, I've had doctors and lawyers and I mean, you know,
Prosecutors.
yeah, you never see it. Never see it till it's
awful.
Okay, we will
Hey,
recess
Bob,
for.
quick question for Bob. You've said you thought suicides will increase this year. Is this still a continuation of the COVID situation, or do you think it's because, you know, the economy is starting to go crazy now, or what?
I think it's both. There's a lot of frustration. I hear the families when I go in, for instance, a case that I worked recently. This individual had a business. He was a construction worker who had a home-based business, and he was doing renovations in properties. We can't get material. So the people had paid for the material, and unfortunately, he would order it, and it just became a situation where he got in over his head, where he couldn't get the material, and he owed him money, and he didn't have the money, and he's telling him, "I'll get the material for you," and they didn't send cabinets in, and the family started getting radical toward him, and he just decided, well, I'm done checking out. And it was over a progressive time. I mean, his wife said probably in the last 12 months, he's just been frustrated. And, people don't understand when they spend $2,000 and the contractor has not gotten the material yet or started the job or finished the job. And then I think it's just a lot of frustration, a lot of anger.
And mental health issues all around.
Correct.
We go right into, we'll recess real quick for a couple minutes. Thank you,
right.
Randy and Bob.
Thank you.
We'll recess for a couple minutes. We'll come back at 10:35.
Thank you.
It is. It is 10:35 in the morning and your Richland County Commissioners are back in session and we are joined for you taxpayers who will go back and listen to this recording intently with what I say is probably one of the best group of department heads from a county government perspective anywhere in the state of Ohio. And I say that in a public or private sector because I've worked on both. And I'll stack our department heads up against anybody's anywhere. So we are happy to have them and it's a pleasure to work with them. And they are the queen of the department heads with how many years of service? I think I just looked the other day. 40 plus years of service because we had your 40th. Charlene Newman, Kelly Christensen, who isn't far behind, right? How many are you at?
Started my 35th year.
Woo. Kara Russell, building codes. Missy Houghton, dog warden. Mr. Josh Hicks was here earlier, who we hope will replace Chuck here, even though Chuck, as the media asked, is that a for sure this time? So intent is for Josh to replace Chuck. One of our newer employees, Ms. Sarah Potes, who's here representing Joe Patricki in just a short time is now a media superstar, is being interviewed by WMFD. So we're always happy to be joined by someone we like better than Joe in EMA. So welcome everyone. There's Sarah. There's Chuck, Mr. Short Timer. Andrew's still here. Janet Brock. Yes. How many years you got?
32.
Amanda Miller. How many years you have?
20.
20. And Ms. Swank,
That started.
you're kind of, how many?
11.
11. So geez, I think it's a testament to show the longevity in the department. Hopefully it means they don't hate us too much. Because the number one reason why people leave is generally their bosses. So I think it's a reason why my wife is always looking to kick me to the curb. So thank you, all of you, seriously.
Legal advice?
What's that?
Does she need legal advice?
Andrew's available, I'm sure. It's seriously, I love working with each and every one of you. It's great. So we're going to shut up and tell the public what's going on. And we'll start with Ms. 40 plus years of service here, Charlene Newman.
Well, good morning. I have a 27-page PowerPoint that I just received from the Department of Medicaid. So my topic this morning is Medicaid and some changes. And for the media, I will send you the power slides, Al and Carl, okay? But what needs communicated that I really would appreciate if we could get out there is Ohio has an outreach campaign that's going on right now, and it started March 1st. So there are probably about 40,000 letters that'll be coming to Richland County. And it is to encourage anybody who is receiving Medicaid, Ohio Medicaid member, to select their new plan. If you go back a few years ago, the state of Ohio put out a new request for proposal, and managed care organizations were selected. So there are 4 managed care organizations that are remaining, okay? And that's Buckeye, CareSource, Molina, and United Healthcare. There are 2 new ones, American Health and Humana, and Anthem, I should say there are 3 new ones. So if you're on Medicare, now's the time. March the 1st through November 30th, you have to select your plan, okay? If you don't, you'll still receive the same plan that you currently are receiving. But depending upon your medical needs, now's the time for open enrollment. Okay. So again, March 1st through November 30th. Know that this program is not run through the local office. It is run through the State Department. So there are two areas that you can actually choose, and that is visiting the Ohio Medicaid Consumer Hotline, and that's at https /members.ohiomh.com. Or you can contact the 1-800-324-8680 number. So it's really important that you get the right medical care, and they do provide different services, just like ours. But anybody with Medicaid gets the opportunity to choose. Okay, that's a very simple version.
Okay.
Questions? Okay. The other thing going on, you know, we do receive a lot of funds through our department, and we received $358,000 pandemic TANF dollars. So we chose to provide and put together COVID wellness kits. So we will be distributing those. We've got about 1,440 eligible families, and we'll be distributing those beginning with March 11th. And we'll be doing that in the backside of Job and Family Services. Those families have received letters. They've got the details. All we need is their ID, and then they will receive a kit. The kit is valued at about $243 each. There's 19 items in the kit, anything from oximeters, tissue, soup. Tony came down the other day to see the warehouse at JFS. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. She goes, let me show you this. And then it's cool.
So the staff and many of our youth and family council members have helped, assisted in the packing and unpacking. So that is really a large project that'll probably extend through the summer months.
Cliff, there was a New Hope bowling event yesterday, and I believe Charlene chickened out and didn't bowl. Is that
I didn't chicken out. I took pictures.
Yes, I got some.
So watch it. I didn't show you the ones that I could have showed you. Anyway, very busy, couple thousand. Lastly, I'd say we had about 1,700 people over at the Ohio Means Job Center last month, still looking for work, doing their resumes and, you know, providing answers. And we provided answers to their unemployment claims and what we do at the Ohio Means Job Center. So we're very busy down there. That's enough.
okay?
Okay.
Kelly.
Well, last year and leading into this year, very, very busy years for negotiations. With the state of affairs with hiring and whatnot, there have been hiring challenges and coming back to the board and discussing these things. So we're continuing to address those in the context of contract negotiations. Just did settle the supervisors for the sheriff's office, just so you're aware of that, which was a holdover from last year. So that has now been settled. And then the 3 on tap for this year, child support, wastewater, and the dog warden. So we'll all be spending quality time together on those. Other projects having to do with the ongoing wage study, which has moved on to a second wave of departments, and Jenny's the point person on that, so she's been busy with that and working with a lot of you. It seems like there's been a real uptick in discipline lately, so I hope that's not a trend for the entire year, but we are dealing with those challenges as they arise. So those are the highlights.
Okay. Kara.
The building department is pretty much back at normal. I mean, we've been fairly normal operations, but you know, we're pretty much running as normal pre-pandemic, so to speak. So that's good. It's nice. We're starting some back, getting our training caught back up now that in-person training is allowed. We actually just went yesterday to some training for building codes on firewalls and fire stopping. So pretty important stuff. My goal for kind of this year is to look forward to doing more outreach with our jurisdictions, because we cover 5 counties. And then with the pandemic, nobody was going anywhere. So, you know, reaching out, you know, I'm here with you guys, but reaching out to like Seneca County, going out and meeting with them, seeing are you guys having any issues with us? You know, here's who I am. If you need to talk to us, you have a project coming up that you need help with, point people toward us, you know, just so that our jurisdictions can get to know our department, you know, now when everything is fine and they know who they can talk to if they have issues or even just questions on what the process is. So I want to work on that. We cover Richland, Huron, Crawford, Seneca, and Wyandotte counties for commercial, and then Richland County for residential. So work on that. We are the Soil and Water was really gracious to offer us. They're doing some unmanned tables at like the building shows, home shows and stuff like that. So they've offered to let us put stuff on the table so that there's information at the home shows about the building department and who to contact and stuff. So we're working on doing some of that too. So it was really nice of them to reach out and offer to let us, put stuff with their information as well. So it's kind of what we're working on. I have, last year we did with Crawford County Economic Partnership, we did do a video that they have up on their website where we went out and we just recorded where they asked questions about the process and that sort of thing. So, stuff like that is stuff that I want to let other jurisdictions know that we're available for so that we can get the word out that we're not there we don't want the businesses to not open. We just want the people that visit those businesses to be safe.
Okay, and you and I will be reviewing fees tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Melissa.
Okay, so we're back up to our normal staffing with our deputies. We will have a full-time one starting in the middle of March and then a part-time one. We had a Betty White Memorial fundraiser, and we raised over $11,000 for our medical fund for the dog warden's office. We currently have a $16,000 credit at the vet's office that we use. So any dog that comes in that needs medical treatment receives it immediately with no wait for that or worry about whether or not we can afford it. Last year, we took in 896 dogs. 414 were returned to their owner and 394 were adopted out. The online tag sales were super helpful during licensing season. We didn't have any of the out the door waits that have been there previously, so that was very helpful. We still have our monthly after hour adoption events, which are going well. We had one Tuesday night. We had 11 applications turned in on dogs. So that was very helpful because we currently have almost 60 dogs in the facility. So if anybody's looking for a dog, we have dogs. And then we're planning on having a spring fundraiser. So I'll get details out when we have that. And then the only other thing is Kelly and I are working on a policy procedure book. The only one I was ever able to find was from 97. So we're working on updating.
Excellent. Sorry, Josh, we're gonna skip you because Chuck's still the man, so.
Actually, he has the report.
Oh, Josh has, oh, boy, he really is a part-timer. I mean, he is like, hey, man. Well, then we should have taken your reserve for Chuck Minnick. I mean, if you're not giving the report, you don't get the seat. All right, Josh.
So we replaced one of our trucks in the fleet with a 2019 Chevy. We got rid of an 07 Chevy truck. We completed a domestic hot water boiler in the jail. Had one that was going bad. It was actually brought over from last year. It was supposed to be complete. Continued the demolition of the old jail. Got that rolling. It's going fairly well.
Do we have an update on the floors?
That'll actually be next week.
Okay.
We've got to get determination of where we need to go with that and what's happening with that. So
I made the mistake of reading the Facebook comments on that article. I tried not to do that. There was a comment right there, and they're always exciting to read what people think when just articles are updating the public on uneven floors.
So yeah, with that, we're moving forward on that project. Got RFQs going out and for the renovation of that, demolition's completed. In-house project, we're doing a sheriff remodel project on the 3rd floor there, painting some offices, redoing carpet. And also we're reconfiguring the admin entrance there on the 3rd floor, just possibly for disaster management or other area type. And looking forward for the summer, we're assessing outside work for summer for the guys and getting roof projects, all the documentation completed and rolling with that. Also paving projects, and then I also have scheduled the concrete for the commissioner's lot and also the judge's lot. Commissioner's lot is in June 13th, the week of that. And the judge's lot, just upon completion of the demolition.
Does that mean we get to park in the judge's lot then when ours is getting done?
Absolutely, in the garage.
Oh, that would make me happy for Judge.
That's in June, you're leaving in May.
Oh,
Chuck would okay it.
Okay.
that would make my year.
Probably lastly, we're just looking for movement on the Longview signage.
Coming. That old rickety sign, we're gonna pretty it up a little bit. And go from there.
All I got.
Thank you.
Okay. Since January, there's been 3 spills in Richland County, 2 in January. Joe spent over 9 hours at one of them. That was out on 71 and 30. And the other one, he spent over 3 hours. That was at 71 and mile marker 158. And February 3rd, there was a spill at Long, but he didn't end up having to go to that one. We've had 3 kind of significant weather events in February. The first one at the beginning of February, Joe did numerous online or on-air interviews with local radio stations and WMFD. And we spent quite a bit of time monitoring the weather and monitoring potential power outages for each one of these events. So February 1st through 3rd, February 17th and 18th, and February 24th and 25th were those kind of significant weather events. On February 8th, Joe and I went to an active shooter training exercise at Crystal Care Nursing Home. And Joe was the primary evaluator and offered great feedback to the staff on how to prepare for this type of incident that we hope never happens. And on March 2nd, just yesterday, Joe assisted the Mansfield wastewater treatment plant for a contingency exercise. Joe spends a lot of time in various meetings on a weekly and monthly basis with Ohio Health, DaVita, State EMA, and NWS forecasters and Richland County school superintendents, just to highlight a few of his meetings. And we are working with IT to update the technology needs in the Emergency Operations Center after one of the significant weather events. We were just doing some prepping with the computers and the alert system in the Emergency Operations Center, and some of the computers in there are outdated and really slow. So after we get an estimate from IT, we'll be contacting the commissioners to set up a meeting to see about what we can do to get some funds to make some upgrades in there. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
And Joe, we're just doing an amazing job,
Oh, thank you.
relatively short
I
time.
believe we're calling Joe the black cat of EMA directors. As soon as he takes over, we have major weather events and hazardous spills. And I'm like, what the heck happened when we brought you in here?
More emails than we got
I
for a long time.
Yeah, he just laughs. So, Mr. Keller, County Administrator Extraordinaire.
I'll be quick because you guys have to listen to talk all the time. But we've been very busy with the American Rescue Plan Act administration, both active projects and prospective projects. We're going to be meeting again with the city of Shelby here sometime soon, the Blackmore County project, another larger project that's our 4th courtroom expansion, I think Josh alluded to. And then we're spending our American Rescue Plan Act revenue loss dollars. The truck that Mr. Hicks mentioned was purchased through revenue loss dollars for the county, update maintenance fleet. So a lot going on with American Rescue Plan Act. Also, we've been spending time studying the organization of the opioid settlement dollars and how those dollars will be distributed at both the state, regional, and local levels. That's been quite a process. And so we've been studying that to make sure that we're ready to try to leverage those dollars for Richland County as much as possible to battle the opioid problem. And also just a lot going on with contracts and procurement and administrative headaches that are just part of the organization all the time. So that's all I have.
Ms. Brock?
Child support is doing great. We're busy. Our first 4 months, we've collected 3.9 million already. So we're doing pretty good. We're on track with our collections. Over the past year, we were awarded the best collections on arrears in our size caseload counties. So we're on track with doing that, staying busy. Of course, we have one of our supervisors is leaving here in the next month or two, so we'll be getting something out to let people know that she's retiring. But we have a great replacement in line that's been trained and she's been doing really, really well. So we're excited to see the new stuff that she's able to do and work with. So other than that, we've been plugging along and doing really good, staying busy.
Ms. Miller?
You know, my line's always as crap. It's but we do have some good things going on. Our Illinois Avenue lift station is finally getting its new roof. I'm hoping that'll be complete soon. So thank you, Chuck and Josh, for your assistance in helping us get that taken care of. We'll be coming to commissioners next week. Our mowing contract for one of our locations will be up. So we will be looking for a request for proposals for that.
And I believe Charlene's looking for some spare change, so she might want to do some mowing in and around this.
Go ahead.
I'll leave that alone.
Ignore him.
I tried, but it's hard.
Oh, really?
We had our first engineering meeting for our generator that we want to put at State Route 39. Unfortunately, that project is going to take a little bit longer than we had hoped. We're plugging along with the engineering and the bidding, but unfortunately, we're looking at a 50 actual generator itself. So it'll be next year before that.
Now, is that I know everyone's aware of supply chains and inflation, but is that standard or is that a result of the current?
That is a result.
So best guess under normal pre-pandemic times, what would be the lead time on that?
Originally, they told us it'd probably be maybe 6 months. Could be sooner because originally it was only 6 months. So yeah, it's doubled. We're having a hard time getting supplies for the repairs that we want to do. We're going to continue with our capital improvements to do upgrades to our lift stations and that, and the costs are skyrocketing right now, just for what you can find. So,
But you're the last department we want to get backed up.
Oh, dude.
Take that
He's
out.
been sitting on that, hasn't he? That beats Al's comment.
Oh,
Hey, I hope he's on the line listening.
we do our best so that you won't get backed up or get flooded out or whatever at this point, but anything's possible with this crazy weather that we're having in the situation.
We can blame Patricky for that.
I did. Maybe I need to talk to Joe. I do want to say again, to put it on public record, that those flushable wipes are not flushable.
Even though it says so on the package.
The package, it goes down your drain, but it plugs up pumps and pipelines.
I wouldn't even say they go down the drain.
Well, it don't even, yeah, I mean, it depends on what pipe it hits that we are out jetting lines and backups, and most of what we are dealing with and redoing these pumps are these wipes that are being put through the system. They are jamming pumps like crazy.
You're laughing. She's laughing. I'm paid $3,000 because we've had to emergency people come out to make sure we don't.
I was laughing about the headline that Al is going above the fold.
Headline, flushable wipes, not flushable, says county wastewater director.
I ever got that language.
Yeah, how does that work in terms of getting that on a package? Is there some sort of approval process, or they can just put that on there like, oh, flushable?
They're the bane of my existence right now.
Wastewater director says flushable wipes for existence.
You're welcome to use them. Just put them in the trash
Yeah.
You know, don't put that on your drains. It costs not only the residents, but the county.
What's that, Stacy?
Carl just provided an
emojis.
Oh, I know which.
That said, your turn.
How do you?
I completely agree with, they are not flushable, they are liars.
Okay.
But yes, the amount that we paid to, the company that we have come out and, what do you want to call it? Clean us up. Yeah, it went up from $500 to $3,000 this past year. I could not believe it, but you gotta do what you gotta do. On that note, we're gonna move to something really exciting. The residents are very happy. They are excited. Day Spring is going to open all the way. They have already in the last month gone to Chinese restaurants.
I was there that day.
You were, it was great to see you, but most of the residents were out eating. They have been to the Dollar General. They have another trip planned for IHOP. They want pancakes and crepes and all of these other things. They're excited to get out and do their thing. They're going to church. They're going to work. They're living with their families again.
Great.
They are finally back to where the rest of us have now been used to. The only difference right now for them is we still have to wear the mask inside Day Spring because they are the top 3% that are likely to get sick or could get sick or even have a fatal issue with COVID. We just need to have that little bit more. So they are waiting with bated breath for me to decide that the numbers are finally low enough that we will remove the masks and have a bonfire outside with all the masks. So
Better than flushing them down the toilet.
you're not flushing masks. Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, appreciate it. Although we will make sure we have our fire hydrants ready to go just in case. We have a lot of property, we should be fine. So that was the update on the residents. They were very excited yesterday. We were still quarantining the residents that were going out in public for 3 days. I lifted that yesterday and there was a cheer through the entire house. But now it's just the masks. That's all we're doing now. Other exciting for Day Spring is our addition to our nurses station. We received $250,000 from the CARES CDBG money. And we are opening our bids next week, right here in this office. Very excited about that. The residents are excited, as odd as that sounds. The staff is very excited. And I'm very happy. It'll be the first time we've added on to the building in such a way first time we've added on to the building in such a way like this since built in probably what in 1925. So
I know.
well, the elevator that was really important. But, that was huge. That was way before my time. I don't even know I was born yet. But also we
Well, I was born.
No, it just seems so long ago. I'm sorry. You did a wonderful job. We really used that elevator. It's been great. Also this year, we're also hopefully going to be bidding our paving project, the other half of our driveway. The potholes are getting extreme. So we're all very excited and happy about our paving project. It was the first winter in a long time that I did not worry about parts of the roof coming off with our brand new roof that we have. So I might have been the only person excited about it, but I was very happy. Usually I have to get them a PA system and warn the staff and the residents when we have a large amount of snow to be careful because as it slides off the slate roof, it just slides off. Didn't have to do that this year, so that was wonderful. Thank you to the commissioners. Thank you to the CPC funds, to everybody who helped.
So tell the group when I went out there, I love movies. And so the Day Spring has a very, very cool theater room. And there was a discussion or a procedure to post or hang iconic movie posters. This before the digital age when posters for movies were a thing, right? For all of us. So can you tell the group which what posters you guys hung up and how that process worked?
Well, we have 4 posters and we have enough room for 4 with the other decorations we have up in the movie room. And me being a science fiction geek, I had to have Star Wars. The other three posters, we let the residents vote. They voted for Jaws.
It's an iconic movie.
Rocky. And you can tell the spirit of Richland County was there. They wanted Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, of course.
As an Italian, I was very pleased that Rocky made the cut. But those are probably, obviously I'd have Shawshank, but Rocky and Jaws are probably about as iconic as you get. The other one that would come to mind was the Goodfellas poster with De Niro and that crew.
You'd be pulling for Rudy.
I like Rudy, but that's not an iconic movie. If you think of iconic, you think of the person on the surfboard with Jaws, and that's just phenomenal. So
Tony
That was
likes
solid.
Rudy because he's the same height.
Oh, you're all on, Carl.
Says the guy who's 4'3".
Hey. I was taller than that, but I was sick a year.
Yeah. Okay, that was awesome. We love getting the updates. We'll turn it over to questions from to Simon and Garfunkel there.
Nothing from me. I'm just happy to hear that flushable wipes are truly not flushable.
I hope to read about that.
Yeah, Carl, let's dirty up.
Well, I've already got the artwork selected, so I'm good to go.
Al?
It's been Christmas.
It took me a few pokes at the screen to get it to work. No, I don't have any questions other than Amanda, your blockages aren't anything like that huge 8-foot thing that they had in Great Britain somewhere a couple years ago, were they?
No, not yet. Thank God.
Okay, we're actually going to recess. We'll come back at 11:15, because Kelly has one last. Kelly and Amanda have an item to wrap up for us. So we'll recess and come back at 11:15.
Thank you all very much.
Missy, I need to get it.
Thank you.
Okay, it is 11:16. Your Richland County Board of Commissioners are in session. We have one more item on a very busy day today. Everyone else is left in media land except for obviously the three commissioners, Stacy, Andrew, our HR Director Kelly Christensen, and our wastewater director Amanda Miller. And they are here to discuss an MOU with the union for a retire rehire. And we know whenever the words retire rehire is stated, senses are raised. So we've asked our HR director to come in and detail this MOU that she is proposing we approve, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, to summarize, wastewater director Amanda Miller approached me about a long-term employee with over 30 years of service who is eligible to retire, and her desire to retain him for, a period beyond his current tenure. And so we started talking about that and spoke with the board about it, in favor and willing to support that. So because this individual is a member of a collective bargaining unit, the only way to accomplish that is through a memorandum of understanding, as this is not addressed within the union contract. So that's what is put together here. It was presented to the union. They countered, but we told them it was our proposal or no. And so they agreed to our proposal as written. They signed it, and then we are bringing it to the board for your approval.
Why was it important from us in a taxpayer standpoint that our proposal be accepted as opposed to theirs?
Sure. Well, any arrangement like this is obviously a benefit to the employee, but it also needs to be a benefit to the employer and the taxpayers. And in Amanda's operation at wastewater, their employees, obviously the longer tenured people have the skills and experience and ability to do the technical natured work that they perform there at wastewater with the flushable wipes and whatnot. And so that is important. This individual has been with us over 30 years. He is reliable. He is dependable. He is very knowledgeable. And so that is the reason we wanted to hang on to him. So, this is a situation where we are required to, use the procedure set forth in the revised code as far as public notice and the public hearing, which will be forthcoming once we actually have dates. But we wanted to put other things in place as far as the specifics of this arrangement. So, it makes sense because he will be coming back in most respects and treated like a new employee in terms of time off and things of that nature, according to the revised code. Will have no break in service, so he will turn around and come right back with no break. He retains no seniority. He does stay at the same hourly rate because that is something that we are doing with another employee in that unit. But it's a situation where it is a win-win for both the public and for the individual. So,
because we often discuss, and what the public doesn't always necessarily understand, is you have to replace that person in the event that that person would retire.
Yes.
So if you can retain the skills and knowledge while also understanding the employee is going to benefit, so the employer needs a benefit, it's beneficial to all parties.
Correct.
I don't have any more questions. Cliff?
I don't, other than, I don't see a date on here. I don't recall the date he was going.
So we needed to have this in place before we could establish the date. So this didn't need to have the date in it. What will happen is once this is executed by the commissioners, Amanda will notify the employee, and then he will contact OPERS, and then we will implement the statutory provision that calls for, kind of back it out from the date that it will take effect, that we have to give the notice and have the hearing. Yep. So there's a reason there's no date yet. We don't know it yet, but that's forthcoming, and that will be notify the boards.
I know we talked time frames.
Mm-hmm. We're looking. Well, it's kind of up to him once he goes, but yes, within the next couple months.
Darryl, any questions?
No question.
Thank you for the work you did on this and the clear analysis that you provided for the commissioners.
Welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. Promotion.
So moved.
Rivera,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Al?
Screen.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
Hey, seeing no further business after a long day, we'll recess at 11:21. Adjourn. Adjourn.